All right, we are live.
Fantastic.
Okay, so you know, Todd, Ben, Nano, let's give people a moment to join us.
Sounds good.
I can definitely do that. I mean, it's 5 o'clock here in Mountain Time, so it's 4 Pacific. So people are still doing the roll or, you know, getting off work.
Yo. So where are we all coming from? Todd, you're over there, and go ahead and say where you're from.
I'm sitting in the ATL at Georgia, Atlanta.
ATL. Nano.
Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
What time is it over there?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. And then Ben.
I am actually working up here in Salt Lake City, Utah, but normally out of Scottsdale, Arizona. So, either on the sun or a little frosty. Take your pick.
We'll give it like maybe.
Samuel, where are you at?
I'm in the best place in the U.S., guys. I'm in California. I'm in California, where it's below 60, we're cold, and above 85, we're hot.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I have so many comments. I'm going to leave that one alone. Todd, you didn't tell me he's from Cali.
He's like, I don't know if I should unleash or not.
Do we have any pronouns, or do I just call you Samuel? We're good.
Wow, the digs start.
Coming with the daggers from day one.
No, I'll keep it above board. I promise, my friend.
I can take it. We'll start at 4:05, guys.
I will say I did ruin Samuel's viewpoint of the NBA for the rest of his life.
Why we got to bring these things up, Todd? My goodness, Todd scarred me over here with his perspective on the NBA Finals.
How it's a rigged system until the game 6 or 7.
So
you gotta make.
I brought up his so Todd has this whole conspiracy that because there were two small pools in the finals, it was kind of a setup to and that's why it was such a dramatic, crazy just ending. I brought that up to a crowd of
in Oklahoma. You did it in Oklahoma.
Right. Let me just say, I will never do that again. I will never do it again. So yeah.
As we tell the sales reps, know your audience, Samuel. It kind of goes without saying, my friend.
Assad said hello. Hey, Assad. Thanks for joining.
I remember Todd telling me stories of tailgating with his daughter, I think it was, and we just don't have stuff like that in Canada where it's nothing like it. I went to a Patriots tailgate or before a game, and it was freezing outside. I'm like, there is nothing like this in Canada. Nobody does this.
So what do they do in Canada then? I mean, hockey's the thing over there, right?
Yeah, but you go to the game and then you enjoy yourself. There's no pre-gaming. Well, there's pre-gaming, but there's no like outside space where you're kind of in the parking lot getting smacked. It's more so that you do that at the game or prior. But there's a little bit of it.
Is a fan base diehard though? U.S. has some diehard fan bases. We define what it means to be a fan base.
I would say depends on the sport and depends on the area. It's like where I'm from, people love being on a bandwagon. So if the team is doing well, everyone's enjoying it. If team's doing poorly, it's a riot. So it's like a physical riot, like they'll riot in the streets. But like, what's that?
So just like Philly, they would burn the town down.
Yeah,
why, but great reaction.
I'm used to being heartbroken as a sports fan, being from Vancouver, because I have the Vancouver Canucks, the BC Lions, that used to have the Vancouver Grizzlies. So I've internalized this sports loss quite frequently.
You guys will have your day. Vancouver. How many years ago was the NBA with Vancouver, Todd? Like
4 to like 7-ish.
7 years ago? Yeah.
It's okay. I'm a football guy by heart, so I'm just waiting for college to break my heart one more time before the Cowboys do.
Well, so what I keep hearing people take any moment they can to rag on the Cowboys. I have not been watching. Is it that bad or what's
That's
going
okay.
on?
They're still watching themselves.
The point is, when you grow up, Samuel, in the 90s and you enjoy watching them win so many championships that you literally walk in and walk out of the game
That's
because,
fair.
like, oh, we're going to get another one. Who cares? You miss those glory days, my friend.
I get it.
1996, Ben. 1996.
I'm a little more
People on
experienced,
this
Todd.
call that were not born the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
On that note, guys, we're going to get started. We're going to get started. All right. So, everyone, thank you for being here today. Welcome. If you're in medical sales and want to know what separates the good from the elite, then you are in the right place. My name is Samuel Adeyinka. I'm founder of Evolve Your Success. And today I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Crowder, for this event. He's a veteran of 27 years. And together we'll be talking to two powerhouse leaders in the medical sales space, Ben Griffin from Abiomed and Nano Hawa from Hologic.
Hey, thanks, Samuel. I've worked alongside both Ben and Nano and seen the impact they have as producers in the field, as well as shaping and building teams. They're not just leaders on paper where they've had success because they were plugged into somewhere. They're actually leaders who bring out the best in their people. And before we dive in, quick reminder, everyone that stays with us till the end, that Samuel and I have something very special lined up and can get a gift that can change the way your trajectory in your career is going to go. So if you're retired, if you're trying to break in, and if you're tired of just staying stagnant and time to step up, you'll want to stay to the end and hear this.
Exactly. If you're ready to become a high performer, you got to listen to what these leaders have to say. And, because they've not only become the 1% themselves, but they've also built the 1%.
So, and remember, we'll all have time to commentary and questions at the end. So if you've got one, drop one into the chat. We have someone monitoring it, and we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Perfect. So, Todd, Ben, Nano, Ben, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Ben, why don't you go first? And then Nano, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ben Griffin. I've been in the industry for a little over 25 years with a multitude of different med device companies. I think I'm on my third Fortune 300 company, with J&J being the top of that list now with Abiomed. So it's been a great pleasure.
All right. Nano?
First of all, Samuel, Todd, thanks for that great intro. My name is Nano, and I've worked at several Fortune 500 companies as well. Worked at Stryker, and currently at Hologic.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started, guys. So everybody wants to know, Ben, this question goes to you. Let's start with the basics. What do you wish you knew your first year as a rep when you started? You can go back.
Well, we don't have enough time for that answer, but I'll make it succinct. The biggest cheat sheet in hindsight is finding a mentor, right? The measure of experience doesn't come fast enough to really equip you to be truly successful in a short, succinct timeline. So if you really want to hit the ground running, find someone who has the experience that you glean and yearn to have, and learn from them and work with them. Because if you're going to be the best you can be, and you're only as good as your experience showcases to you, it's going to take you a long time, my friend, to really get there. So find a mentor quickly and fast forward that trajectory.
Sure. How about you, Nano? If you can go back, talk to yourself your first year. What do you wish you knew your first year as a rep?
I'd say, much like high school bullying, it gets better. You're gonna have to put in the work. That's what I would tell myself directly, because you can't run right away, and you're gonna grow and get better each day. But you're never gonna get there if you don't put in the work every single day.
Wow. So, Nano, this question also is for you. What's the best way to manage a territory so the territory itself doesn't manage you?
One thing we try to coach with our reps is to really plan and blueprint your territory. The more planning you do, the easier it's going to be for you to fill out your day. I try to operate with like a boulder and pebble principle. So the boulders being big things in your schedule that are just always going to be there: case support, a clinic, a lab, a training, what have you. And then the general pebbles that fill in that week, things like setting up a lunch, setting up a dinner, doing additional training, filling it with clinic visits, inventory checks, those sort of things. So you should always be trying to fill your day each and every day and building it for weeks and months out. And if you're ever at a point or your day is empty, start freaking out.
So, Ben, this one's for you. What is the matrix? Because you and I have dove into matrix continuously through our years. What is the matrix do you actually care about when evaluating a rep's performance?
Well, for me, I have the 4 criteria of a sales rep, and that starts with sales acumen, clinical didactic, territory management, business analytics. And those are the 4 kind of key pillars, if you will, that we look to train towards to help them be able to maintain and manage themselves and lead and do well in their own environment, because we can't always be babysitting them, right? And to Nano's point about the big boulders and the small pebbles, is when you have 4 fundamental facets that you can actively engage in and learn, that you can do online training, you can do a mentorship, you can actually acquire the skill as opposed to just an emotional subjective context, but an actual objective measure, then we know where you trend over a timeline of trajectory. We know how you are day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, as most businesses work, and year over year. Love that term, Y over Y. Never heard it before I got into med device, and then now it's nothing but. So having a focus and a forecast for how you build yourself, so that when that report card comes, when we look back, your quarterly assessment, your half year, mid-year review, and your year review, you already know where you stand.
Right. You're not guessing.
There's no guesswork. There's no surprises.
Right. So Nano, what are the mistakes you see the average reps make over and over again?
I would say first and foremost, lack of follow-up. Follow-up costs you nothing. It is the easiest thing in the world to do. And a lot of average reps wondering why things aren't moving for me, because they don't do the small things correctly. Follow-up is at the top of that list. There's so many times where you'll be speaking to a rep saying, what's going on here? What's going here? And they'll be like, so when was the last time you spoke to them? 4 months ago? Or when was the last time you visited them? 3 months ago, and you're wondering why there's a decline. It's the simplest thing in the world, and it comes at every option. Whether it's you're having a dinner and then you don't follow up with the surgeons afterwards, or you have a clinic luncheon and you don't ask for the business or the next 3 cases. It's the simplest thing to do that is constantly forgotten, and the top reps do it, but the mediocre reps seem to forget it all the time.
Sure. Ben, this question's for you. Mindset is something that we always talk about when it comes to being a rep. In your opinion, what's the mindset shift that it takes from an average rep to get to a President's Club rep?
There's a lot of different answers, but when I think about that question, that's a good question. Outcome over identity. I think so many reps have an ego or a mindset of what they have an expectation of the day or the surgeon or the staff or the opportunity to be, and they don't listen. They don't hear. And so when you're driven by outcomes, and outcomes are to the benefit of your customer, right? I can prep myself up all day long and talk about the cases I've been in and how I've helped, but
Sure.
The outcome of that patient is a primary focus of everything you do. So don't forget, when you're in med device, there's a lot of accoutrements that come with it, and a lot of titles and a lot of fun efforts. But what Nano said earlier too, just the work you put in, there's work. There's no shortcuts. And outcome over identity is where it starts. Patients are focus number 1, period. End of story. Everything to follow that, you will find success. I guarantee it.
I love that. Just want to say hello to everyone. We're approaching 50 right now as far as our guests. So glad you guys are here. We're talking to 2 powerhouses right here, Ben Griffin and Nano, and we're getting into what makes an amazing stellar rep from wherever you are in the space. Okay, this next question is for you, Nano. What's one red flag that gives it away that a rep's not going to make it in this industry?
This is a fun one. For me, it is integrity and work ethic. It's kind of 2 red flags. It's if I see a rep that is just constantly being caught in their own lies, and to be fair, they may be lying as a form of defense mechanism, so they're not consciously trying to do it. Sure. But if there's a lot of lying or a lack of work ethic, I just know you're not going to make it. And we all know that med device, to be in this role, and Ben can back me up in this, as can you, Todd and Samuel, you got to be a little bit crazy. So the normal people don't go into med device. It's full of weirdos, all of us. right? But it's the weirdos that are also high performing, do what they say they're going to do, and operate with a high degree of work ethic and integrity. Those are the ones who are going to crush it. If you don't have it, this is not for you.
Oh, okay. Todd, before you ask your next question, I got to hear from Ben too. So basically, Nano, you're saying if you're crazy, med device is for you. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying it's an avenue.
Well, I mean,
Ben,
come on.
Ben,
It is a calling. It is a
Okay.
calling. But the best one I love is when you interview and you talk to them about what's important to them and how they think they're going to find success. And they start with work-life balance, you know, and everybody thought there is no balance. There is no balance. When you have to be at the OR at 6 a.m., what time do you think you got up? When you have to be there through the entire case and any trauma calls that come, what time do you think you get home? So the measure of success is like anything else. It's not that the work is hard, because if you truly enjoy and you love the role, it's not hard. It's a measure of what are you willing to sacrifice? And so most people would say, well, you know, I'm not driven to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not driven to do certain XYZ activities. But for those that are, you know, to Nana's point, a little crazy, a little A-type, a little merit-based, who we want to drive and create our own success and not wait for life just to happen to us, but we want to help shape and navigate that a bit. You know, you have to be willing to put in the work and to sacrifice for the outcome. Sure. So it's a constructive environment for you. It's not a measure of poor, woe is me. You know, I'm not a victim. I chose the crazy early mornings and the late nights, and the stories and the experience and the years that I have for it is a great reward. And the patience, frankly, you know, I get to go home and talk to my wife or talk to my kids or friends and family. And it's pretty amazing when you see the other side of that, when the surgeon comes out, because the patient's families, Samuel, they only have one question. Are they okay?
Right.
How did it go? That's it.
Right.
That's all they want to know.
Right.
So when you can be a part of that and facilitate that, yeah, I'll get up early.
You know, hearing this, I imagine so many reps that think that they haven't figured out and they're doing it the hard way, and they're not really kind of paying attention, like you said earlier, Ben, like finding that mentor. And so they're out without working out with proven strategies. And instead of taking the time and getting this stuff and learning it to be able to be faster, more efficient, they spend their time spinning their wheels. That's why Samuel and I keep saying that stay with us until the end, and we're going to begin to help narrow that down and get you that ability to be able to start having that gap close. You know, both Ben and Nano and I, we've worked together in different capacities through our lives. And the stories we can tell about watching integrity, watching people destroy themselves, and watching them compromise with, oh, I can leave early, or I can show up late, or I can not show up with a plan, will absolutely be the crushers of their careers. Right. Because ultimately, you're the brand, not the company representative. You're the brand. Yep. So, okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. And we're going to move into whether you're trying to go from good to great, or from manager, or from rep to manager, and what it really matters and what it really takes. So, Ben, we're going to start off with you. When did you know that you were ready to move into leadership from the rep role?
I think for me is when the role became a little stagnant in the fact that the activities and the skill sets needed to be successful have already been met. And it was just kind of regurgitating, but really more so, it's not a measure of when you think you're ready. As much as we all like to think we're pretty self-aware and self-involved, the evolvement for me came when some peers and colleagues reached out and started asking me to help them. When I had peers and colleagues reach out and ask, hey, can you walk me through this scenario? Hey, can I come ride with you? Or hey, can you come ride with me? It wasn't even my boss. And they didn't ask my manager for permission. It wasn't as though he assigned me as a mentor. They just came to me and said, you know, I know you know how to manage or do some of these different activities or actions that I need help with. Can you work with me? And I got a lot of, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that phase of learning, because as much as they were learning from me, I was learning from them of how to be a good leader, how to show value, how to be more succinct in my skill set that you have to train and teach to, so that they could become efficient. And that really taught me a lot, and it allowed me then to move up into a manager role.
So, well, this next question is kind of really for both of you. Dan, I'm going to start with you on this one. What qualities make some manager material versus just a great rep? Because you've seen good reps and great reps come through training, but also for management material.
Yeah, I would say, or who do you want to go?
Dan, go first, please.
Yeah, I would say they do a lot more listening than talking. They want to lead with authenticity. They ask. They don't go their way to be negative from the jump. They want to get all the pieces of information, and they want to genuinely seek to help their people get better. You've probably on this call heard of the concept of servant leadership. And so it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to actually physically do it in the field when you're trying to say, well, how do we make you better? And if you're going out of where you do that, that's kind of the pathway you need to take. So I'm going to throw it to Ben for this one, so I'm sure he's itching for this one.
No, I love that. It's true, because, some of the trainings, you go through over your career, discovery, validate, trust, right? And so to your point, Nano, listening to the rep, listening to your colleague and what they need and how they view, because sometimes it's not a measure of skill. It's just the prism through which the lens that they view the challenge or the opportunity. And sometimes just helping them to better understand or navigate. I like analogies. Todd knows I like analogies. And oftentimes I use the old one of saying, are we clear? And they'll like, yes, we're clear. I go, great. A window's clear. I can see through the window. And I see a great picture outside. I see cars going by and people taking walks or jogging. But what does it mean? Who are they in the picture? What are they doing? Why are they there? What's the outcome? So just because you see something doesn't mean you always understand something. So seek to understand discovery and who they are, validate the skills that they have, build the trust that you can unify and help improve their skill set so that they can, in and of itself, achieve success. Because great leaders, you don't overanalyze. It's not about you. It's not the law of addition. It's a law of multiplication. You don't lead people, you lead leaders. And when you can do that, they themselves become a growth measure for the company.
So, Ben, do you have like matrix or achievements that matter more than others when you're considering someone on your team to be promoted?
I do. Again, when you look at the skill sets for a rep, it's obviously different as a manager, right? Because you have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to be able to understand. Number one is communication, right? Communication is key. We all speak the same language, but language can be dangerous. Two people can say the same thing, have two very different meanings. So to be in a management, you have to be empathetic to the people you're working with. You have to be able to understand the underlying talents. You have to know what to raise up and what to mitigate, right? Because no one's perfect. On a football team, a quarterback's not a lineman is not a wide receiver is not a tight end's not the kicker. We all have skills, but how do they work in conformity as a team? And so in my experience, a good manager isn't the best at what they do, but they're probably one of the best at collaborative efforts and bringing in the right skill sets, utilizing the right resources. Because it's not just sales. You got to remember, you have sales ops, you have education, you have various logistics, you have management, you have marketing, you have advertising, you have, all the different accoutrements that come to. I mean, I love a good meal. A great steak in and of itself is awesome. But God bless lobster mashed potatoes, the Brussels sprouts on the side, all the accoutrements, all the add-ons. That makes a meal, not just something to eat.
No, good answer. Want to give a quick shout out to the people commenting. Let me say hi to Christopher, Christy, Bonnie, Matt, Elizabeth, Gildani, Pamela, Monique, Daisy, Simoli, Simon. And if you guys have questions, we're with two powerhouse leaders here that can answer anything regarding medical sales. Ask your questions in the comments. I promise you we will get to them at some point during this discussion. All right. Next question, and this is for you, Nano. What skills need development to perform at the next level, and how do you build them?
Are you saying going from like a TM to a manager?
Going from TM to a manager, or going from a TM that's average, middle of the pack. You're wanting to get to P Club. You're wanting to be one of those high performers on your team, and it's not happening. You know, what should they be thinking about when it comes to skills that you develop to perform at that level, and then take it on to management?
So I'll do the rep to elevated rep role. How about I hand it off to for the other one to our friend Ben?
Sure.
So if you're this average middle of the pack, it's gonna go down to a few things. I think for one, you have to be easy to work with. Nobody wants to work with an asshole. If you're abrasive, you're challenging to work with, you're just not a fun individual to be around. Secondly, you're gonna have to be authentic. People can stiff fake individuals a mile away. And again, it's like being an asshole. It's gross. It's not fun to be around them, and they always kind of feel off. They're also students of the craft. You know, they research how to sell. They read sales books. They want to get better every day. And in addition to that, they follow something I like to call the giant principle. So this is a permutation we hear in multiple sales books. Basically, they operate with a high degree of grit. So day in, day out, they can eat plates of garbage and get back on the field every single day. They operate with a high degree of integrity. So you know where they are, they do what they say they're going to do, and you always know they're above board. They operate with a high amount of accountability. So they own everything. They're dependable. They're reliable. You know they're going to get it done for you. And they do this in all walks of life. The fourth thing I'd say is really they're nimble. So when I say nimbleness, I mean they act with a sense of urgency. They are creative, they're adaptable, and when situations arise, they come to it with solutions rather than just saying, woe is me. Right. And finally, to be that tier one rep, it's teamwork. The best reps get out there and elevate everyone with them. And I've trained enough people to see this time and time again. It's been really fun for me being where I am now with all the people I've trained, seeing those who have excelled, and they effectively embody all of this. So that's what I would say takes that rep to that next level without,
Sure. Real quick though, before we move on, Nano, if you're on the team and you're average, you've heard this, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do what Nano's talking about. I'm gonna step up. Should you still be encouraging and reaching out to your team, even the performers that are doing better than you, or should you just be focused on yourself and double down on whatever it is you're supposed to be doing?
Well, you can see by Ben's head movements that I agree.
Nano's like, I'm going to Ben for that one.
It's a no-brainer. Like why not benefit from how good other people are? If somebody's doing something successful, figure out what it is and try and do it, or play some jazz on it and modify it, make it work for you. There's people that are successful for a reason. Recreate that success as best you can. Speaking personally, there were times where I was in my account racking my brain what to do. I would see another rep in Montreal do something like, that's a brilliant idea. Try it out, and it worked. But if I didn't try it, it wouldn't have happened, right? So I learn from everybody.
Sure.
I mean, I'll jump in and say one thing. If you want to be a force multiplier, you have to lead, manage, adapt, and execute, right? To Nano's point, you have to be a problem solver. And so the measure of resources that are around you are there to support you. No one came in and did it alone. A doctor doesn't get through med school because they just started carving up cadavers and figured it out, right? So the purpose here is much like any professional institution. More often, people look at sales as a measure of sociability. I'm a sociable person. People like me. I'm friendly. I'm nice. That could not be further from the truth. I don't care if you're sociable. I don't care if everybody likes you. You have great friends. Some of the worst sales reps I've ever found are the people who are rapport-based selling because they have no other skill set to lean on. Okay. And they're too ego-driven or too centered to be able to ask for help. One of the best people I ever worked with, Mr. Harger, and Todd Crowder knows this person, once upon a time said, if all else fails, one quick tip, cheat and ask. That's it.
Sure.
Manager, colleague, customer. There's no surprise why you're there. They know why you're there. So cheat and ask. How do I help you?
I like it.
How do I get you what you need? Can you help me? How do I overcome this? But the point is, intellectual curiosity goes a very long way. And if you're not trying to find solutions, you are part of the problem.
Sure. We got a question. I want to ask you, Ben. You know, when you're looking at reps in your team, what's one behavior that instantly tells you, okay, this rep is ready for the next level?
Intellectual curiosity. Because if you're always driven to learn the next thing or be the next part or be the solution, you know, be the reason why, that's going to get you farther than ever just, you know, too cool for school, or I'm too bashful, I'm shy, I don't want to interrupt. You know, people are tired of hearing me talk. You know, I don't want to be the pebble in the shoe. No, be demanding. You know, if I have reps that weren't demanding of me, my best reps, people that stood on stage every year, I talked to them 3 to 4 times a day. And it wasn't when life was falling down and the world was crashing. My worst reps were those. They never called you about the wins. They never called you about support. They only called you when hell was burning down and they didn't know what to do.
Got it. Okay. Got another question for you. Ben, what projects or initiatives can help a rep gain leadership experience specifically?
I think the best thing is to ask where you can help support the company, because what you don't realize in the day-to-day sales is there's so many various projects, whether it's an LMR going on in education, whether there's a study going on behind closed doors, you know, anything you can ask some of the other departments where you can step in and help, because it'll just help you learn how the different parts of the company work and integrate. What most people don't see is once you get into management, it's not always about the field. There's a lot of logistical work. There's a lot of back office systems. My spreadsheets have spreadsheets. I'm a data dump analyst type guy. I go through reams and reams of data on the team to see trends and pathways. But if you're really looking to gain experience, you just got to raise your hand and say, you know, are there any outside maybe my sales window, my acumen here, that I can involve myself with to help support or better learn about the dynamics of this business? And you know, you can also do it outside of work. You don't have to wait permission from, you know, the work to evolve. You can go to your church, you can go to the schools, the PTA, you can find other endeavors where you can help work alongside other people and get a myriad of background and experience through that.
Okay. You know, I have a question actually for you, Nano, that somebody else asked. This comes from Victor. What are some good questions to ask a senior rep on that initial first interview?
Well, Victor, thanks for the great question. I would ask him, what does your best day look like? What does your worst day look like? Because they're going to give you 1,000 answers, but the best reps are going to tell you what the actual grind is going to be. If it's outside of the interview question, if you're actually meeting with a person who's worth their salt, they will break it down for you, because they're not going to sugarcoat it for you. I remember myself, or when other reps would call me for different things, for those very similar questions, I would be honest with them. This is what your day looks like, because if you're going to be an excellent rep, you have to know there's going to be great days, good days, and garbage days. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they have not sold anything in their life.
That's so true.
Okay. Another question, and I'll throw this back to you, Ben. Somebody else asked, and we'll sprinkle these in, everyone. We'll sprinkle in some of the questions. Please keep asking them. If we don't get them answered right now, then of course we'll answer them at the end. And please stay to the end, because we got something for you. But keep asking. This question is for you, Ben. So what advice do you have for someone looking to break into medical sales? And we'll make it twofold. They either have no experience, they have medical experience, or they have sales experience. Give us the answer for each one of those categories.
Well, you know, I definitely have had these multiple times, in the hundreds of interviews. So more often than not, they have sales experience. They're probably a little easier to enter into. We can always teach clinical didactic skill sets, but sales acumen really goes a long way, as long as they have the other aspirations of, you know, territory management, business analytics. So a good salesperson is hard to find in any industry, and it translates in any industry. Whereas medical's a measure of knowledge, and that knowledge doesn't always equate to a skill. So if you're great at medical, then that is more generally of a service line industry as opposed to sales, which is more of a hunter than a gatherer, if you will. So med device can be good if you know how to connect with the target audience of that company you're interviewing with. Obviously, if you're in heart, don't go to hernia. If you're in vascular, don't go to hips and knees, right? It doesn't translate. So if you're in medical and you just think, hey, these sales reps have the greatest job. They wear the coolest little red beanies and they get to wear the orange scrubs. And it looks like they're having the time of their life. Probably not the right outlook. But really, for me, my first person I would going to look to is going to be the sales acumen.
Got it. And for that no experience individual?
No experience just means you're me many moons ago when I had a full head of hair and it wasn't all gray and white. We all start from somewhere, right? So that is what it is. It's just a measure of life. You all start from somewhere. Go to B2B. That's the best thing I can say. I mean, I started out with two back in the day. Fortune rated the two companies I worked for, number 1 and number 2. It was ADP and Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And there's nothing sexier than wearing a suit, steaming a car, vacuuming and washing it out while you drive it around, sweating to death in Dallas, Texas, in the morning, running between dealerships. But yet the point was the skills that you learn translate. The work, the grit to Nano's component. You don't build thick skin because you show up and say, I'm going to do my part. If you can't handle me, you can't handle the job on the worst day, you don't deserve it on its best. There are more hard days than good. I can tell you that for a fact, but right. The good days are great.
So you advise the B2B because you develop the grit, but we've seen so many professionals go from no experience to medical sales rep without the B2B because they're showing grit in other spaces. For that rep that's trying to interview and get that position that does not have B2B experience and does not want to go get it, what would impress you that they could bring from whatever they're doing that can make you sure they have the same level of grit the B2B sales rep might have?
Well, Samuel, on that one, I'm gonna cheat and ask him the obvious answer. Walk me through what you do today, what skills you've used to find success in your current role. So often people, when they interview, they do research on the company and they want to tell you all about your products and everything they've learned. I hate that. There's nothing you can learn or do in your time before an interview that is going to trump my 3 months, 6 months, 3 years in my own industry. So what shows me more about you is when you can describe what you currently do and how you do it and how you're successful at it to the point that I don't just clearly see, but understand. That shows me you have skills that translate.
That doesn't translate. But at the end of the day, it's about whatever it is you're coming from, whatever space you're coming from, you better be able to show the skills that you have that translate into what's required for the job.
You have to be able to communicate and speak to it. Absolutely, Samuel. Otherwise, if you give generalizations, I'm going to say, tell me more about that. Can you go in greater detail? Mm-hmm. So what happened next? Mm-hmm. Or devil's advocate. That was great. That was a great story. But what if XYZ were to happen? Sure. And see if they can think on their feet. Because we all know this. If you can't think on your feet in med device, you will get swept off of them pretty quick.
Yeah, you're done. Great question. Okay, great answer. Nano, this one's for you. What's the one thing you wish someone told you before your first leadership role?
The one thing I wish someone told me before my first leadership role? It's lonely in the middle. I kind of always figured that as well, but when you're getting into management, you will have to fundamentally understand that buddy thing that you had as a rep or another role, that doesn't exist anymore. And you don't get paid because everything's easy. You get paid because you have to make sure that things are, when they're challenging, you know how to manage them. And that includes people, situations, and problems. And I wish, it's something I wish I kind of knew going into it. I knew what I was getting into, but it's something that I should say, fundamentally understand getting into management, that relationships change at a fundamental level because your role changes, and that is both up and down.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hey, so this question's for you, Ben. So basically, how did you really know that it's time to jump, not just from a manager, but a manager of managers to a future VP sales? Because we'll have some managers on here, and that's a different jump skill set as well as moving just from a rep to a manager.
It's very different. And I was, frankly chomping at the bit in that role because, the reps live day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter to a degree, right? Their activity level is at the ground level. A mid-level manager, to Nana's point, welcome to problems and a pay cut. And that definitely fundamentally changes that relationship with the reps because you have a fiduciary duty, right? But when you become an AVP, director level, and you're managing managers, now the horizon is 3 to 5 years. And you're looking at chunks of business holistically. You're not getting as granular into my individual KOL doctor who needs XYZ. We're looking at program development. We're looking at building out a market share. We're looking at taking market. We're looking at ASP increases. We're looking at depreciating assets. We're looking at margin thresholds. You're looking at all the mechanics that underlie a business because make no mistake, this is a business. Hospitals, they're there to help patients. They're a business. They do not stay open out of the kindness of their heart. But at the end of the day, your role too as a leader is to fill a role and to find success. And so for me, I love the big picture. I love to really empower the legacy of process to be able to look at. I mean, it's to be cheesy. It's a lot like dating. I didn't ask my wife to marry me on our first date. I was just trying to get out of it alive, much less get a second date. And so, that process, much like anything, when you're a higher level, you really have to look at all the different business models because sales is a part of it, but it's not the only part. And if you don't know operational logistics, if I could go and get every hospital in the world, but then I couldn't meet demand because it was JIT inventory systems and I couldn't translate, production to output, to surgical process, to the products needed in the field, a lot of angry surgeons and a lot of angry patients, right? So long-winded. I love the big picture. I love the aspirations of business. And so that was really for me, again, my spreadsheets have spreadsheets is what I love to do.
I remember some of those spreadsheets we put together back in our days.
Oh yeah. So long you couldn't scroll far enough. And I used to go to the management team and go, hey, your math is right. Your formula is wrong.
Exactly.
And that's when it really got people's attention. They're like, maybe he knows something we don't.
That's fantastic. All right. So, hey, I love what we're talking about. The conversation. This is exactly what we want to focus on every day. Helping each other, breaking the industry, helping each other be able to make the next move, be able to have the right foundation to go above and beyond the average just 1% rep. Because the 1% rep, those are the individuals that each person should be striving to become, especially if you want to be able to learn from us, learn from these leaders that are sitting here. This is what we need to be able to sit there. And I hope we get some more questions and get some more curiosity as they keep on talking about. They want to be able to sit there and pour their knowledge into you guys right now. So at the end, that's what we talk about. We're going to have a chance to be able to sit there and give you the opportunity to have that done so that you'll be able to sit there and take your step up wherever that looks for you, whether it's from middle to top to management, or as Ben just described, management and to beyond. Yeah. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we want to drive home. That's what we want to be able to have each and every one of you that decide to participate and do this crazy journey that we call med sales.
Yep. So make sure you guys stick to the end. And I see the questions are pouring in. We have like 10, 11 questions now we haven't answered. Guys, I promise you, we will answer your questions. Stick to the end. We will absolutely answer your questions. In fact, if anyone's listening right now and they're thinking, I want to ask a question, I'm not sure if I should ask the question. We're having this for a reason. We're giving you all this knowledge, but we also want to know what's been burning on your mind that you want to ask these two powerhouses named Ben and Nano. So ask your questions, keep them coming. We see them coming in, keep them coming. All right. So on that note,
if you don't ask, it's like sales. The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Facts.
So if you don't ask, there's only one person to blame. That's yourself.
You better say it. So we have a few more questions to ask Ben and Nano, and then we're gonna dive into all these questions we're being asked. So before we go to the audience questions, Ben, this question's for you. Where do you see GPOs group purchasing organizations, where do you see GPOs and contracting heading in 2025 and beyond?
Oh my gosh, the hard questions now. I will say, having spent quite a bit of time in this space too, I'm not a huge fan of GPOs. They're more a measure of having the Sam's Club card, right? You have access, but you have no commitment. And in med device, we want commitment, committed contracts. We don't just want participation trophies. So GPOs don't have the power, the leverage as they used to. It's more an IDN. And so the IDN is really the integrated care where you come into like a Kaiser, a Banner, a Sharp, a Scripps, Common Spirit, and you can commit to the program development. You can commit to thresholds of spend and help them better manage, their outcomes, because the hospitals really, they need consultative partners that can help them in their fiscal and clinical duties. And notice I led with fiscal, Samuel, because at the end of the day, if you're not fiscally solvent to the hospital, it doesn't matter how good the product is. They can't utilize it, right? So it's fiscal and clinical goals compounded in, and you really have to understand how they go about, how their screening process is, how the referral prognosis is, how they do the actual surgery, how they have the outcome modeled, how they do step-down units, the full pathway, the continuum of care. So at the end of the day, one of the old adages, kind of goes to the leadership thing is, anyone can steer. It takes a leader to chart a course. Realize when you get in with IDNs, you better understand that course very well through and through.
Okay. I'm calling an audible, guys. We are at 45 minutes and the questions are now, we're drowning in questions. So we're actually going to jump into audience questions. Nano, Ben, get ready. All right. So the first question comes from Kristen Sellers, business development rep at Complete Care and nurse. What is your best advice to a historically high-performing rep that is consistently over quota, but they are in a current dry spell in their this is good. Dry spell in their territory. This is going to go to both of you. Nano, you first.
All right. For me, I'm very data driven. So if you're in a dry spell, I would say first look inward and see, look at your trends, look what's happening. I don't know exactly what kind of data he has, but I would say first and foremost, look at the data. What is it telling you? Secondly, what activities are you doing to drive the business? What is working, what is not? So things just don't go dry for no reason. So you have to really localize the problem. Is there a competitor? Is there something that occurred? Has surgeons retired? Has a hospital shut down? Has there been a billing issue? You have to triage what the issue is. Nothing just happens overnight. So if you ever did dry spells don't come out of nowhere. Dry spells happen because there was a series of actions that were taken or not taken that resulted in the dry spell. So I would always say, analyze the heck out of your territory, go into the data, be in every account. And once you've done that, then you'll have a greater picture of how to get out of it. And sometimes you're not going to have a linear path to do that, but sometimes you are. But if you haven't done that very basic, I don't think you're going to get out of it.
Ben?
No, and I like what you said there, Nano. To me, it's all about process, right? If you're a true professional, you understand your process, you understand your day-to-day activities, you understand your analytics. So maybe it's time to have some outward eyes, a manager, a mentor, a colleague come in and take a look at your situation and see what they can see, as well as, to your point, if the nature of your environment has evolved or changed, you need to adapt, right? A new product comes in, to Nano's point, maybe a new DRG designation, maybe a new surgeon who has a different path like they like to take. So maybe a new, even the surgeons have bosses, ladies and gentlemen. They may have a new VP or a new CMO who comes in and says, no, we're no longer doing it your way. We're going to do it my way. That product's out. We're going to use XYZ product. So, just look inward first, to Nano's point. Trust your process. You're a professional. Don't change what you do on a day-to-day, and then figure out what has changed in the environment around you. Most likely it's an outlying factor that's come in and you need to mitigate it or work with it or around it.
I like it. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to start picking on you guys as I drop these audience questions.
So
Ben, this one's for you.
I love it.
This one's for you, and this is good. She brought it with this one. This has come from Dr. Robin Chimenti. I have the ability to work between medical professionals at the clinical level and patients at the professional level. My daily life includes spine, neurology, women's health, sports med, clinical sales, and product launches. For those of us coming from a clinical background versus a sales background, how can we convince any of you in an interview that we're the right choice for the role versus someone with more sales experience? What do you want to hear? It gets no more direct than that. Ben, please take it away.
Well, the first thing I'm going to ask you is pick a sport, any sport. And I don't mean sport, sorry, but I really mean pick a role you have. Tell me what you use today. And then tell me what you used before, previous. Why did you change? That's the biggest cheat and ask question I ask surgeons. Hey, what are you using today? What do you like about XYZ product? Not my space. Find a different space that they do so you're not a competing interest. But in this scenario, I'm going to ask you, what do you like about, you said, whether urology or women's health or neuro, what do you like about it? What are you using today? Didn't you guys use XYZ before? Yeah. Why did you change? So if you can succinctly showcase why you changed from a clinical or physical component, what the outcome model did for you, how it helped the patient, and you know how to articulate that process, then you obviously can learn product designations, right? So if you can learn products and you can talk through the process of how you chose to that, and you obviously know how to speak on a clinical fashion to your peers and colleagues, then I'm going to entrust that I can probably teach you some of the logistical components of a day-to-day activity list, because I know you have a very long one with all the specialties you just listed, that you'll be able to contour your day that you have now to a sales rep's day. But if you can't articulate the products and the programs you currently use, then that's going to be a red flag.
Okay. Great answer. This is coming from Justin. He's a territory manager. Okay, thanks all, and hello, Nano. And then Nano, by the way, this question is going to you. Good stuff. I would always cheat off of Nano and other reps to play jazz with solutions. Love it. Any good book recommendations for making the move from TM to managing a sales team in the med device industry?
Yeah, I would say without exception, anything coming out of Ryan Hawk. His books, Welcome to Leadership, Pursuit of Excellence, and the third one, I think it's The Score That Matters. Those three have been fairly excellent across the board. He does a great job of synthesizing data from a number of different leadership books and sales books, distilling them down into actionable content. He creates workbooks that go along with it in each chapter. And if you actually put in the work and do the workbooks like this, you'll find yourselves being more and more prepared for it. And he also has a great podcast called, I think it's The Learning Leader. So it's, that's what I would recommend anybody looking to get into it.
Fantastic. Ben, we can't leave you out of this. Go ahead, man. What's your book recommendation?
John C. Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I have literally bought that book by the dozens and handed it out. To Nano's point, John Maxwell has a whole lineage of books on leadership. He has workbooks. They're easy to digest, quick, small, succinct chapters that give great examples of real life environments, not just med device, but just leadership as a whole. They're phenomenal. I swear by him. It's my favorite book.
Awesome. Everyone, we're going to make a quick announcement, but in the sake of time, we will continue with the questions. But before we continue, I have to say, if you're serious about being in the top 1% and you need a mentorship, a plan, the right community, that's exactly what we offer here at Evolve Success. If you're trying to break into medical sales, we have the Medical Sales Career Builder. It gives you the proven roadmap to get into your first role. And if you're in the industry and you're trying to become this quota crushing rep we keep talking about, then you need to get into Medical Sales Bootcamp. And that is your next step. If these are the gifts we've been talking about this whole night, if these are things you want to do, comment medical sales right now in the chat, and you'll get a 10% discount off of the Bootcamp program and the Medical Sales Career Builder. Whether you're aiming for your first offer or your next leadership role, this is how you can get there. All right. So everyone, again, that's medical sales. Comment in the chat if you're interested in Medical Sales Career Builder or Medical Sales Bootcamp. Let's jump back into these questions. This next one comes from Hannah Craig. All right, you ready? Let me see. I'm going to ask you, Ben, as an experienced OR registered nurse getting into medical device sales, other than finding a mentor and doing research as mentioned, what is the best way to navigate this new role when you don't know what you don't know? For example, the verbiage used by reps, and is there a way to confidently say you're not understanding or need more clarification? I mean, I kind of just announced something for this, but go ahead and answer anyway, Ben, please.
It was Hannah, correct?
Yeah, Hannah Craig, yes.
Okay. Well, Hannah, we at Abiomed take on a number of nurses much like yourself who are new into the industry, because not every sales role is quote sales. They do have clinical components that help integrate in with the sales team, and they become a team. So it's one of the ways you can tiptoe your way into without having to hit the deep end, if you will, jumping right in, is to find a company that uses clinicals in their sales groups as a kind of a pod group and integrate yourself in. The other thing though you can do, and you have it now, and this is the part where it takes a little bit, putting some skin in the game, boys and girls, is to, in your current environment, reach out and talk to the people that you are interested in learning more about their company. It doesn't mean they have to have a role for you, but just ask them, hey, in your current company, what is this kind of environment? How do you integrate people like me with my kind of skills in? What advice would you have for me? The thing about being sales or just being a professional in general is you have to put your ego aside, and the learning is more inherently measurable and meaningful to you than how people may view you, right? You don't get great because you practice in silence. Sometimes you have to put a timer on the board and have a few fans heckling you to realize what it really truly takes to be a champion, because it's not done in the dark at night, even though you're going to have many late nights as it is.
Great answer. Great answer. Ben, we have another one, and this was actually directed to you. This comes from McAllister Westcott, territory manager. Okay, CMF. Ooh, okay, so Ben, to your last point, how would you translate that to a brand new college graduate that is interested in med device? Do you remember what that last point they're referring to is? I don't. Okay, McAllister, if you're hearing this, give us some more context on that one, and we will ask that question again.
Well, but you know what? I will say this, because we are starting to see it. You got the younger generation that are now starting to understand medical sales device coming straight out of college. Nano, you've seen there being a trainer. You've seen some of these guys come straight right out of graduation, have a diploma in hands, coming on board. What advice would you give some kid in college right now that might be listening, saying, what can I do to prepare myself to come into this role and get into med device itself? Sure.
Nano, please.
Yeah, it's going to go back to intellectual curiosity. You have to be curious every day. You have to continuously learn. And I would be very specific with what company and field you want to get into. There are so many different companies that do so many different things in medical device or medical sales. So if you're going to go apply at Hologic or Abiomed, research the company, but don't tell me about my company. Know about the company. It's a very different conversation. Like, I'm not going to tell Ben his product better than Ben knows his product if I'm interviewing with Ben. He knows this, right? It's what he wants to know is, have I done the work? Have I looked into what mergers have they done? Have I looked into what they buy? Have I looked into industries that they're operating into? Have I looked into their press releases? Have I talked to local reps? Have I researched what the day-to-day is? Have I spoken to a high performer? Have I reached out to another manager? Have I reached out to other resources? Have I looked at their marketing plans? Have I looked at their LinkedIn page? If somebody's coming to me with that type of energy from university or high school or college, and they've done the work, I know that's probably going to translate into ethics somewhere else, because that's showing me you're dialed in, you have curiosity, you're here to win, and you want to win, and you hate to lose. I love it. But if we are having that same interaction, and you're coming in from college, university, and you're just like, yeah, my dad was in medical device sales, I thought it'd be a pretty cool thing to do, make money, it's pretty cool. My mom's a nerd. No, I don't want to talk to you. Or you have the AI response in our interview. Like, no, this is not going to work out.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm going to say it again, guys. For those that want to get into medical sales, we have the Medical Sales Career Builder for those trying to be that top 1% and perform in their role. We have Med Sales Bootcamp. So make sure you comment medical sales if you're interested in either program for that 10% discount. All right. Next question. This kind of fits what you just said, Nano. This comes from a Florida State University graduate. First is Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and this is for you, Nano, a popular place to come into, and then you've been medical device sales from. I just interviewed with them.
So I've trained in my previous role close to 360 medical sales professionals. In that capacity, I would say some of the top industries are Enterprise was phenomenal, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Packaged consumer goods was always great. Printers, payroll systems, so like point of sale payroll systems, and education. And then there was their odd nurse as well. But those were like the general industries of the people that I would see go on to be successful, was in that kind of bracket. Having said that, there's a million ways of getting in a number of different positions. And if you have the intellectual curiosity and drive, you can get there. So I'll throw it to Ben and see what he says.
No, I'm going to say the same thing because, again, if you're a good athlete, I don't care the sport, I'll train you to the environment we're in today. But you have to be able to have basic intangibles, like we talked about, intellectual curiosity. And even for myself, I came to Abiomed, I was interviewing with Intuitive, Baxter, and with Abiomed. And I had to choose which path I wanted to take because I had them all options. But the one thing that they all agreed on to a fault, and this is anyone in professional space, is what's the last thing you learned and why? How have you grown in the past month? You don't get to sit there and rest on your laurels or talk about a title. Nobody cares about a title. Leadership's cute. But, when you're talking to the top 1% reps, I can guarantee you, they don't come up and say, hey, my name's Ben. What's your title? They come up and say, hey, I've heard you do great things in this space. I have some questions for you. Hey, can I pick your brain? They want to learn and grow. It doesn't stop even when you're in your 50s.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so we have another question for you, and this is for all of you actually. And guys, let's keep it succinct in the sake of time because we're over. But hey, these people want to learn, so it's all good. So this comes from Maxine Coda, and I'm going to ask you, Ben, then you, Nano, then you, Todd. What helped you succeed the most when you first started your medical device role? So answer that based on you guys tried a lot of things, all of you, and you guys know a lot of things now. But when you look back and you're like, well, this thing really just had me flying. What was it? What was the one thing? Let's start with you, Ben.
Cheat and ask, find a mentor, just relentlessly working. But instead of just learning through a crap ton of bad experience, you take the test and then you get, then you get the answer. No, cheat and ask, get a mentor.
Get a mentor.
Learn.
Love it. Nano?
I made a lot of mistakes once. And
I like that. I like it.
I would be wrong or didn't know something one time, and that's all I would give myself. After that, it would never happen again. So you have to give yourself the grace to not know everything, be the dumbest person in the room, and get better after that. Okay,
I love that. I love that. Todd?
I was going to outwork every single person. I would be like working out in the gym. I was there in the morning time. I was there to help set up rooms. I was there in every lab. I was going to know the procedure as well as the doctor could possibly know. And I was going to sit there and grind myself into a polished stone, knowing that I come from a rough background from it. So despite growing up in the industry, I chose to absolutely outwork anybody. I still hold that today. I will still, and these two guys have worked with me. You might work with me, but you're going to have to work long hours and you're going to have to work and grind a whole lot.
I love that. I love that.
God bless, man. It was fun, Todd. We had a damn good time doing it.
Listen to what we're hearing, guys. Mentor. Make a mistake one time. Outwork everyone. I'll say it again. You guys are hearing from the powerhouses of industry. This is gold. And if you want help, if you want to get the inside track to this, remember again, type medical sales in the comment for Medical Sales Bootcamp and for Medical Sales Career Builder. All right, we have another question now. This one's long. Ben, this is for you. I'm going to do my best. So please listen well. All right, so this is from Arash. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering and completed postdoctoral fellowships at Harvard Medical School with hands-on experience supporting over 30 surgeries in the OR. As I transition into a medical device sales role, I sense that some hiring managers may view me as too technical or potentially overqualified. How can I effectively address this perception and position myself as a strong candidate for sales?
Well, I love that question because I just hired you, my friend, about 2 years ago in California. Almost identical background. It's crazy. So what you need to be able to share is your experience in working in that clinical space, because as you well know, there's a symbiosis, relationship between different, physicians and different groups. So I think I'd want to know is, how did you model or manage some of the patient care? How did you take them from the floor up, down, off the ICU, down post-operative care? How did you, integrate some of the different departments? How did you deal with the egos? That'd probably be one of the first questions I'd ask, especially in the med device space, because no doctor has an ego, just like no rep has an attitude ever. Ever. We're all the greatest things since sliced bread. No, but if you've been really that clinical, didactically sound, and you've worked in that space, then the different personalities you work with, the different expectations upon them, the stresses that occur. So if you can articulate how you navigated that, and then how you would potentially integrate yourself into a sales cycle call with that process in mind, then I think that would go a long way to helping people have a better understanding and awareness of your strengths, as well as the skill set that they could further develop. But that's a great place to start from.
Awesome. I hope they got all of that. I'll remind you guys that the 10% discount for Commenting Medical Sales, we're only offering it in this live. So again, to change or start your medical sales career in a powerful way, medical sales, comment medical sales, and we'll give you that 10% discount. All right, next question. Okay, this comes from, gosh, so many. This is good stuff, guys. All right, Brandon Lane, teacher and coach at a public school. Could any of you describe the typical daily and weekly prospecting activities of elite orthopedic or elective medical device reps, along with how they balance maintaining existing surgeon? Brandon, come on, man. Hospital relationships with supporting OR cases. Who wants to take this?
I'm not going to spoon feed you. Work.
Yeah, we developed, to piggyback off that, internally at Logic, we developed an entire rep checklist with this exact kind of question. There's so many aspects of your job that you have to do every day, and you just got to go out and do them. There's no panacea. There's no silver bullet. It is doing all the things every day, all week, all year. There's no magic bullet. That's the job. You heard Todd talk about outworking everybody. That's how he was successful. He did all those things all day, every day, nonstop.
And Brandon, I'm gonna challenge you on one thing in your thought process. When you said you coach, let's just say you coach football, for example, and you've got a guy that's got all the speed in the world, world class, top notch speed, but can't catch anything. Couldn't catch a cold if it was given to him. What do you do with that guy? Will you teach him from the beginning of how to position his hands, how to look the ball completely in? You take step by step, and it's the same thing. You've got to take the work, and that individual has to take the work in with them in order to be able to sit there and have that success. All the speed in the world, that's fantastic. You can outrun anybody, but you can't catch anything. We can't use you. You've got to be decided that I'm going to figure out, I'm going to sit down with a rep, I'm going to sit down with a manager, I'm going to read these books that these guys have talked about, and I'm going to dedicate myself to be the best receiver I can possibly be, or in our case, be the best transition to a rep that you can be.
All right. Next question from Anna Claren, patient and physician service specialist. When you think of the best people you've managed, we'll start with you, Nano. What did they do early in their careers that made you and their customers see them as indispensable? That's good.
They brought value every single day to the OR. So there's two parts to this question, like internally and externally. To the customer, they demonstrated a sense of urgency. They brought an air of competence and calm to every procedure. When they were doing launches or sales or sold anything, from the start to finish, it wasn't even consultative. It was almost basically a relationship where they're side by side as opposed to across from the table. They were able to give the customer watch outs. They were able to show them savings where it made sense. They were operating with a high degree of integrity, and they crushed it. Internally, they were easy to work with. They are generally happy-go-lucky. They raised their hands for things, and they always brought a sense of energy and fun to the role that made them, or that make them, the best that there is.
I like that. Okay. All right. Next question. This comes from Kareem Yahia. What qualification are you looking for in a medical rep in an interview? So, we've kind of answered that 50 different ways. Well, maybe give us the biggest standout qualification. Ben, Nano, and then why not you too, Todd? Just one.
Why not, Todd? Why not, Todd? Well, for me, look, at the end of the day, I want to see your drive to be successful, right? I want to see what you've done. You don't have to wow me with how you're going to come to my company. Wow me with what you're currently doing and show me how you've outgrown it. Show me and help me understand what you do today. Activity is not accomplishment. I see so often people think activity is accomplishment. I don't care that you're busy. I really don't. I mean, I love you. We all work hard. I'll outwork everybody. Sure you will. I'm smarter than everybody in the room. That's scary. I'm going to win no matter what. Okay, great. There's a win-win relationship in all things, but not always. So at the end of the day, really, if you can speak to who you are, how you found success in your current role, you can articulate the skill sets that you've acquired and utilized and what you're continuing to work and evolve in, and you have a forward progression of that thought, then you have a future. But if all you can talk to me about is your past, we're going to keep it right there because I'm going to go on with my day without you.
That's powerful. I like that, Ben. Nano?
Yeah, I'm going to echo much of the same. I'm really looking for you to show me your current wins and how you're going to elevate this role. Like, walk me through your process of success. Walk me through what you do, because I don't care what industry you're coming in from. If you can articulate your process and how you engage your market, your territory, I don't care if you were selling shoes to tires to asphalt, like, show me what led you to success. Show me the thought process, the brain power, the questions that you ask, and again, like Ben said, activity doesn't mean results. It just means that you're doing stuff. If you're doing stuff doesn't actively create success, then you're just spinning tires, sometimes literally. But what I want you to do is show me how you've created reproducible success and how you're going to bring it into this role. If you can do that, then the world's your oyster in medical advice.
I love it. And Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have that, you can combine those things with integrity of the individual, and they're not fluffing you. I remember a rep one time I hired, he had all these things laid out, and by the time we dug back into their resume, it was just nothing but fluff. And the integrity that individual lost cost them the job. They had all the right answers. They had all the right things. They talked to the right people. But when you don't have integrity, I can't trust you. Because remember this, as a manager and they're hiring you, they're saying, I am giving you part of my income as the same way to run this business. And if you don't have the integrity to be able to handle that, then I don't really have a use for you, no matter what relationships you can bring.
Amen.
I like it. Todd, another question for you. Can you give us a book recommendation, please?
Well, Ben stole mine, because my favorite, and I have 21. John Maxwell has so many different books that it is unbelievable. You stop and you just listen to them. You can have them on audio. You can have them write them down. But I mostly encourage you, don't just get the book, get the workbook. Because the workbook itself challenges you, whereas with your reading, maybe it's just me, but when you're reading, you can tend to see also kind of drift off. But what the workbook does, it makes you have to apply what is actually being taught to you. So it's holding you accountable more than anything. So I am a stand behind Maxwell kind of guy. I have countless numbers of books of his, but I think he is one of the best authors of being able to do this.
I love it.
I got a shelf. I got a shelf of like 20 plus books of his, literally.
Yeah. Let's go. All right, guys. As we bring this to a close, everyone listening, everybody watching, it's just about being the top 1%. If you need a mentorship plan and the right community, that's exactly what we offer here at Evolve Success. If you're trying to break into medical sales, our Medical Sales Career Builder gives you the proven roadmap to land your first role. If you're already in the industry and want to become, again, a quota-crushing rep that we're talking about today, then Medical Sales Bootcamp is your next step. And the gift that we've been talking about is when you put medical sales right here in the comment, then we're going to give you a 10% discount for the Medical Sales Bootcamp program or the Medical Sales Career Builder. Whether you've been aiming for your first offer or your next leadership role, this is how you can get there. Thanks, guys. You guys have been amazing. It's been great to have you on this event today. Let's keep on doing amazing things, building the next generation of great reps. You guys were fantastic. Any last words that we want to share for anyone? I'll start. I'll go around the room. We'll start with you, Ben, then Nano, and then of course we'll end with you, Todd.
I would just say, like anything else, you get out what you put in, and too often people think of this as an expense. Invest in yourself, because the way I look at it is very simple. If I take you to a basketball game and they have a raffle to shoot from the half court line for $1 million, who wouldn't want to do that, right? Now we say, hey, how about you do that for $100, $100 raffle, except not only am I going to give you a month to train, I'm going to hire someone to train you. So would you be willing to spend $100 to invest in yourself, to have a month of training to shoot a half-court basketball shot for $1 million? How about we up the ante, Samuel, and say, I'll do it for $5 million. Everybody on here for $1,000, except I won't give you a month, I'll give you 3 months. And if you really play nice, I'll give you 6 months with a trainer to train you to shoot a half-court shot for $5 million. And so that analogy, what I'm getting at is, when you look at med device, like people like Nano and myself, we've been in, Todd and yourselves, you don't do it alone. You get in and you have a trainer. And the average med device company is $200,000, $250,000 pretty easily, if not double to triple that. Over the course of 25 years at $200,000, it's $5 million. So if you're willing to raise your hand and say, I want to invest in that ticket for that half court shot, and I'm going to go out there every day and dig in and learn how to make that shot for $5 million, well then frankly, why the hell wouldn't you invest in yourself to do it today, to do it with these gentlemen? Because that's the worst thing I see, is people who talk about wanting to be successful and talk about wanting to be successful.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Ben. Nano?
I would say fundamentally understand that the reason you do your job outside of money and the accolades is because there's a person on the table that needs care. They're vulnerable. They've been suffering. It could be a child, a mother, a father. It doesn't matter. Day in, day out, you do your job so that person can get care. And if you keep that centered, you stay a good person, that's going to propel and drive you to make that extra call every day, to get in that last shipment overnight, the call on that annoying flight in to get that extra loaner set for the ortho thing that you need for spine or hips, whatever. That's going to drive you. If you keep that centered, you keep that as your North Star, you'll even in tough times, you'll be in a good place.
I have 5 things. The first 3 were taught to me back in 1980s when my dad did this. Very simple: to show up, shut up, and to follow up. Show up at the right time, in the right place, and the right attitude. Know sometimes when it's time for you to be quiet. Sometimes the surgeon just has to talk their way through what's going on. And sometimes the first person that talks loses. And then follow up. 90% of reps will lose their job, lose the deal, and lose their way because they forget how to or don't know how to follow up. That is, I have seen time and time again, and I can tell you from working with these guys, they've seen it too. And also remember, there's 2 types of reps that sit there in the hospitals. There's asses and assets. You get to decide every single day which one you're going to be. They've got plenty of asses that walk around. Make sure you're an asset.
You know what? On that note, I mean, I don't know how else to end it. Medical sales in the comment, everyone. 10% discount for Medical Sales Bootcamp or Medical Sales Career Builder. This was amazing. Ben, Nano, and Todd, thank you very much. I mean, I know people learned a ton. We were able to answer everyone's questions, and I can't wait to help people get to their next level in life when they type medical sales in the comment and get help from people just like you guys. And they don't even know, we didn't even talk about that. I'm not going to say much more, but people, some of the people you're looking at are involved in some of the help we have in these programs. Hence the reason why we know these programs work. So again, thank you guys for the time, and this is amazing work we're doing here.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Samuel. Thanks, Ben. Nano.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care, guys. Bye.
All right, you guys. Bye, Nana.
Yes.
Bye, Ben.